Good morning. Today I'm sitting at a place where we are going to have a special interview. 51 Goan housekeepers working for the National Health Services or the NHS have accused their manager of harassment, of accepting bribes and various other whatever they could, they have blamed her. These 51 Goan housekeepers even went to the extent of approaching the court of law with their complaints. They came out on the road, all the Goan housekeepers and the whole Goan lot in fact came out on the road in the month of March 2012, as we have seen in my previous recording of the interview and the recording of the procession they took out on the road of Swindon. This is the first of its kind of an incident in UK or anywhere where Goans usually never do such things. The manager herself was silent all this while, and we, the NHS Goan Workers team, somehow decided to get a hold of her, and we managed to get hold of her, where she decided to talk to NHS Goan Workers and give out her side of the story, which you will see as we go and proceed with the interview. So let me introduce to you first of all Miss Christine Woods, who was the manager of NHS, whom the Goan housekeepers have accused. And we have with us also Sarah Rhodes, who will also be talking to us over this issue. Good morning, Christine.
Good morning.
Welcome to NHS Goan Workers website, which is a Goan website, and you must have heard of it, I'm sure of it. Welcome, Sarah. It's nice to have you all with us. It took me quite a lot of efforts to get you online with this. I tried a lot to get earlier to you, but I couldn't. Somehow I managed to get it. Well, let me ask you right in the beginning, as you know, what do you think of some of the issues that led to this dispute?
Over the years, working in the hospital became quite difficult because a lot of the staff all wanted the same sort of things. They all wanted to go off on holiday for long periods of time. A lot of them was related. So if, for example, there was a death and they wanted compassionate leave, there may be 14 or 15 people that actually affected. But I never had no qualms with that. You know, if people had to go, they would go. With annual leave, we initially, when I started in the department, allowed them to go for 4 weeks at a time. However, they then abused it. They would go sick before they went on holiday. They would go sick when they came back from holiday. Some of them never returned from Goa. This had serious implications in the hospital because obviously we're there to provide a service and to keep the hospital clean. Over a couple of years, over the Christmas period, we had 45 people sick. So on top of that, if people wanted to go on annual leave, it meant that we couldn't provide any form of service. So the senior management, my bosses, decided that there needed to be something put in place, that there was no annual leave over this period of time, because operationally the hospital couldn't cope. There wasn't really any particular issue when it was brought in at that time, because a few of the staff wanted to go back at Christmas, but primarily they wanted to go back for Easter, for the Easter period. They incessantly wanted overtime and would fight amongst themselves for overtime. If they thought somebody had a bit more overtime than them, they would cause a lot of trouble. But I never gave overtime out. So there was a whole combination of families working together, wanting more overtime and wanted extended leave for various occasions and periods of time.
I think also it became very difficult for you to manage, didn't it? You had over 200 staff, 7 supervisors, and it was just becoming unmanageable.
Yeah, because they would want longer and longer. But then Carillion changed the annual leave policy. Whereas before they was allowed to go for more than 2 weeks out of the business, Carillion then put in a new policy to say they couldn't be gone for more than 2 weeks. The staff didn't understand that that wasn't my policy. That came from the company. I just had to.
You were only implementing the thing.
Yes. As soon as that policy came in, I knew there would be trouble because Veronica Durajo had come to the office, demanded that she wanted leave, and when she was told that there was a new policy, stormed out shouting to saying that she was going to go to the union.
Before we proceed further, let me ask you, you think, is this a first of its kind of an incident, or did such things occur earlier?
There'd always been issues over annual leave because obviously they wanted 4 weeks.
Okay.
Now, you can't let everyone have 4 weeks.
No.
And then it became extended. They wanted more than 4 weeks. And as I say, they abused the policy.
Yeah.
You know, so they wasn't just gone 4 weeks.
Yeah.
Some of them had been gone months. I mean, there's one particular guy that went to go on holiday and then didn't come back for 9 months who said he was sick and then
9 months is too much.
And then done exactly the same the next year.
All right.
And they used to go to the GP, didn't they, and ask for sick notes before they actually went on holiday?
Yeah, they would go to a doctor and say, I'm going to have an operation and go out, I'm not coming back for 2 months. But the doctors wouldn't know they was having an operation.
Yeah.
It was just what they said.
Okay.
So there was no proof.
There's no proof. The doctors didn't give anything in writing.
No, the doctors didn't know they was actually going to have an operation.
Yeah.
It was just what they
were just
saying.
bluffing the doctors.
Yeah, basically. And as I say, it became more and more unmanageable because they were taking longer holidays, not coming back, lots and lots of sickness on top. So operationally, as business, we couldn't fulfil it.
Yes. And you had very strict targets to meet, didn't you?
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
it's obviously very...
You know, the hospital had
MRSA,
to be kept clean. Yeah. You'd need to cover it.
Yeah.
All those sort of things have big implications.
Yeah.
You
You
know.
had regular walkabout with the trust directors, didn't you? Every week they used to come around, inspect different places.
Yeah.
And there was regular weekly audits, wasn't there?
Oh yeah, there were daily audits.
Daily audits, yeah.
Yes.
So Chris, the audits, tell us about the ward audit.
Audits were carried out on a daily basis onto the ward areas, depending on whether there was a high dependency. You know, a theatre might get audited every day, a ward might get audited every week. So it was very high standards, and the standards did reach very high, you know, way above the requirement of 85%. Whereas like now, I've heard that some of the audits are coming as low as 20%, 30%. Among the supervisory team as well, we did have a Goan, Jose Estrosio, who was quite incompetent at his job, and there were several occasions when he was due to go to a disciplinary.
Okay.
But each time he was due to go for a disciplinary, he put in a grievance about various people, obviously me being one of them. He told me on several occasions he believed that he was here in the society, and all the staff that worked for him, all the Goan staff, were just shit on the floor.
Oh, I see.
And I could not believe his reaction. I asked him, how can you be like that, Jose?
Yeah.
These people do a good job and they work for us within society. He said, no, they're just rubbish. So he caused quite a lot of problems. As I say, he wasn't competent at his job. He had vast amount of times off.
Okay.
And I believe that he was one of the main instigators in stirring up the annual leave, the accusations.
So he's the one who stirred the whole thing.
Jose was behind a lot of it, I believe, together with Paulo Fernandes.
His name is?
Paulo Fernandes.
Paulo Fernandes. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he was a bit bitter, wasn't he? Because he
Paulo
applied for jobs.
Again believes that he should have a better job than what he actually had.
Okay.
But his level of English and understanding was not good.
Yeah.
You know, he applied for a job as a rapid response where you have to speak into a walkie-talkie, a radio.
All right.
However, Paulo Fernandes could not speak clearly.
Okay.
You know, so he could not do that job.
Yeah.
But he blames me personally for that.
All right.
He went for another job. He had a trial. He didn't pass it.
Yeah.
But he blames me for that.
That was a job in catering, wasn't it?
Yeah. But that was not my fault.
Yeah.
You
no,
know,
it's the manager of that department.
But somebody has to pass for the particular job, right? The interview or something, whatever is taken, he has to pass out.
Yeah.
Only when somebody passes out, one cannot impose his own will on the management to give a particular job. Isn't that right?
That's correct.
But the point is, a lot of them blamed Chris.
Yeah.
They thought Chris were responsible for the policies, whereas the policies were made by people outside the company, or people outside the building. Yeah.
You know, Carillion head office, not just the hospital.
So it was Carillion who were doing the policies.
Yeah, yeah.
And you were all just implementing them.
And there was a separate HR.
So I don't see any reason in you being blamed for that.
Yeah. You know, when the new policy came in with regards to the annual leave, that had nothing absolutely to do with me. There was nothing I could do about it. Yet when I was in town, one of the Goan ladies grabbed me by the arm and she said to me, if you change the annual leave policy, everyone will love you again. And I said, you don't understand.
Yeah.
said, you don't understand. I never make the policies.
Yeah.
I just have to put them in place.
Yeah.
I said to her, and let go of my hand.
Yeah.
Because a lot of them, this was their first job.
That was Carmina Fernandez.
Yeah.
So they didn't understand.
Yeah.
They don't. They just think the next person is the boss. They don't
Yeah.
understand about the hierarchical structure.
Yeah. And what? Let me just interrupt you. Like, you know, you said that the person who, like, it was Paulo who instigated these people for the leave, and he is the same person who said the other Goans are below his level. Is it?
It was Jose that said the Goans below him. Obviously, were
he said
rubbish.
it, right?
Yes,
okay.
Jose Estrosio. Paolo was a housekeeper.
Yeah.
But then Paolo, as I say, wasn't happy because he couldn't get a better job.
Oh, I see.
Then, together with the annual leave, he
you
then
mean to say better position?
Yeah, he then became involved with Jose, with the GMB.
Okay.
You know, Paolo was then known to be going round to the housekeepers, getting them to sign, join memberships.
Yeah.
Him and some of the other Goans who was involved went to some of the housekeepers' houses.
Yeah.
They would tell them if they didn't join the union, their children would be got at. They would be ostracised in the community. So these people were scared.
Oh.
Tell us about the relationship you had with the Goan housekeepers before
how was your relationship with the Goans in general, all those workers who were working with you initially prior to this incident?
I believe that I had a good relationship with the Goan community. As I say, when I initially started in the department, I would allow them to have the annual leave. I bent over backwards to help the staff. But as time went on and policies became more stricter, we had to tighten things up, and the staff couldn't understand that.
Yeah.
But I still had a very good relationship with them. You know, I went to parties, I went to christenings, I went to dinner at their homes.
Yeah.
I went and visited Goa because they told me it was such a beautiful country that I should go.
Your Facebook messages from
you know, when I wasn't well, I had an operation. 90 of the housekeepers came to my house and visited me.
I see.
At Christmas, they inundated us with gifts, not just me, everybody. They used to buy us presents when they came back from Goa. Okay. And even when we insisted we didn't want them, they was like, this isn't a bribe, this is a gift from my heart. It's what we do.
I'll be coming to that point later on, because that's one of the main points that I would be asking you regarding these bribes and other things that's been the topic around.
Yeah.
Okay? So I'll be coming to that part later. Let me finish some of the important things like...
I think that's...
Okay, as I say, I believe that I had quite a strong relationship with the Goan community in Swindon. When they originally done the Goan Day, the Goan committee approached me to see if I would go to Carillion and ask for sponsorship, which I did, and we got sponsorship. At the Goan Day, I went, I was treated like a VIP, the Carillion flag was waving, my boss was there, it was an excellent day. You know, so I believe that I was a bit of a patron, really, in integrating the Goans into society, and together with Carillion. As I say, I went to many of their houses for dinner, including Paulo Fernandez.
And your mum?
And my family went, my mum. We went to Goan dances, me and my mum, and was always made to feel very welcome. You know, even with my mum, she was just overwhelmed by how kind she believed the people were. They bought her gifts and often gave her gifts. You know, my mum's a very independent person and was like, I don't want anything. And it was like, this is our way, this is our nature. When Martina Rodriguez, when she lost her husband tragically in Goa, we tried everything we could to help her, went to her house, anything she asked for, we was there to support her 100%. And yet she was one of the key people in instigating this against me.
Oh, I see.
And
after doing so much for them.
Yes.
Chris, there were other people that you really helped when there were deaths in the family or problems, weren't there?
Yeah.
Like baptisms and...
Yeah, there was. You know, if somebody had a death, if there was ever an issue, there was people that needed translations for their children in schools. We done all of that sort of thing for them. You know, Louisa Perez, when her husband died, again, we supported her 100%. Carmina Fernandez, when her husband died, supported her and her family 100%.
Oh.
You know, when her mother was ill, her and her family went off to Goa. There was absolutely no issues with that. Yet all of them have then turned around and said they didn't get compassionate leave, and I was horrible to them. That is not so.
Which means you treated them like your own people, like your own, someone related to you. So much you were
I treated them no different to anybody else.
Just like a part of your family.
Yeah.
You attended funerals?
I went to funerals, you know, out of respect for the people. I went to christenings. When I went to Goa, I went to weddings they took me to. Every celebration they involved me in, but then turned around to say that they did it out of fear.
Oh.
And Chris, tell us a little bit about the present giving, because that was new for you as well, wasn't it? For you know, they're in the staff room, they're just bringing you.
Yeah, well,
not just for birthdays.
They've said that the present giving was started when I started work there, but actually that's again a lie. Previous supervisors worked there, had loads and loads of gold earrings.
Yeah.
The staff brought it back all the time.
Yeah.
If it was somebody's birthday, they always gave a party. They would bring in food. But then they tried to turn it all around and saying
that you took the bribes. You asked them to give you gold and other things. This gold incident is very famous among the Goan community. They know about it, that these people gave gold and other things to get the jobs and to be steady on the jobs or not to get thrown out. But it wasn't you they gave, huh?
They gave everyone.
They gave to everybody.
Yeah. You know, even before I started there, they gave it gold to supervisors. It was just a known thing.
Yeah.
You know, and also a long time ago, gold was quite cheap. So if they brought back a gold pair of earrings, it wasn't considered a lot of money as such. And to us, a present is a present.
It's a present is a present.
You know, we don't look on a present as a bribe. That's not how our culture works.
Obviously, nobody does that.
No. You know, so when they twisted it, because there was an issue a few years ago where someone tried to accuse me of taking bribes, and there was a whole major investigation, and I believe Paolo was part of that and said there was no bribe giving. Again, it came out that was, they said, was their culture. You know, I know people who
So they told you it was their culture to give gifts.
Yeah. I know other managers in WH Smith's, in Iceland, in SDC, in B&Q, where there's a large volume of Goan staff.
Yeah.
And all of those people tell me exactly the same about the present giving.
Yeah, that's going on, I know. Because in SDC, I have worked for about 3 weeks. I myself have seen with my own eyes the Goans giving bribes there, as bribes, liquor bottles and other things. I've seen, just to get some people out of job.
It doesn't, you see, it doesn't occur to us that it's a bribe.
Yeah.
Because it's just...
Yeah, they don't show you.
We're naive.
Yeah.
We didn't realise that
now
we can see.
Now you know
it's softening the ground.
Yeah.
You know,
and
but they've
banned all present giving out.
Yeah.
You know, they said...
This is what I have seen in SDC, with my own eyes.
Yeah.
I know who the guys are. I've seen who they are. I know them by names, I know them by place.
It makes people very vulnerable in these companies, and the managers of the companies need to be aware of it.
But there it was the other way around in SDC, because I knew that that guy was ready to accept and do a favour for them. There was a team leader who would do a favour. Okay, I have personally seen this in SDC.
Well, you might just come across a person who will feed on this, who isn't honest, and therefore will be up for a bribe. That's the danger of this.
Yeah.
But Chris was squeaky clean.
Yeah.
I mean, she is as honest as you can get.
Yeah.
And there's absolutely no way she would favour anyone if they gave her a gold or a bottle of wine. It was all done by merit.
Yeah, and I think that is what turned the tide. Am I right? Because you wouldn't do the things that they wanted, whether they are right or wrong, in a way they wanted.
And when she
they turned against you.
When she recruited people,
there
was always someone else in the room.
Yeah.
So she couldn't, if someone gave her a bribe for a family member, she couldn't do it. It had to be on merit.
Yeah.
And then later, a different organisation started recruiting people, I think, didn't they? So they took that off your...
You know, on some of the recruitment, like, I think it was Jose Rodriguez, I didn't give him a job because his English wasn't satisfactory.
Yeah.
I gave him a test. I would read questions in English, they had to answer them. He couldn't pass the test.
Yeah.
It was another supervisor that actually gave him a job, But then in the court papers, he said he gave me a bribe.
Okay.
You know, it's a lie.
Yeah.
You know, there's 40 odd of those housekeepers that say Pepe Cunha cleaned my house. Now, all of those people are lying. Pepe only came to my house once when I was sick. Yeah.
Okay.
And Pepe didn't join the GMB, so Pepe was given a very hard time through all of this.
I've heard of it.
She's been accused of a lot of things that aren't true. You know, she never cleaned my house. You know, they've said she cleaned my house for free so she could get overtime. This is another lot of lies because I didn't give out overtime.
Yeah.
That was the supervisor's job.
The supervisors gave overtime. So I didn't know who done overtime, when they done it, or what for.
Your job was only to sign afterwards the sheet.
That's right. You know, the supervisors...
it's the supervisor who does that.
Done the overtime. The supervisors done the holidays. So a lot of the things that the Goans actually blame me for, I didn't actually do.
And the other thing is, the Goan house or the housekeepers are responsible for booking their own holidays. There's a system where they have to book the holidays.
All right.
And, you know, there's, say, 4 slots for a holiday at any particular time.
Okay.
If those slots are full, you can't go on holiday. You have to get on and book your holiday. Some people left it to the last minute and then blame Chris because they couldn't go. You know, it's like they didn't understand the system. They were told to get every month or every fortnight there were team meetings where there were pictures. They tried to do everything they could to make sure everyone understood. But Chris, tell us about the time when Polo Fernandez came to your house.
Chris, now just because these people, Goans, few Goans did this to you, do you think the whole Goan community is like that? What impression do you have about the rest of the Goans? I know when something goes wrong and when you face certain problems, obviously your impression about the whole community goes off the track. But I can assure you that all the Goans are not same. Okay? Given my knowledge behind the leadership within this people of yours, my knowing and my knowledge of the leadership, I can say that all the people are not like that. So what do you think about the rest of the Goans? I am a Goan. We have a lot of Goans here who work for different places. Well, they are coming from different places, other places other than those ones crowded here in Swindon.
Yeah.
So what do you think overall of Goans? Now, I know it will be a difficult choice for you to make or difficult to say something. It will be hard for you to get on that. I'm sorry if I know you did a lot.
I think Chris feels very betrayed because
I trusted the people.
Yeah.
I felt that I helped them so much, and the people that I believed closest to me were the ones that have been the worst.
Yeah.
Jenny Bretto, for example, you know, we went to her house, we went to her christening. You know, she went through a really bad time of depression.
Yeah.
She had lots of marital issues. I sat down with Jenny so many times. She used to ring me up both at work and at home. At times she was near suicidal. And then she stood on the telly and said that I treated them and called them slaves. You know, that's just so untrue.
And also, I think Chris helped her get easier hours because she was
I understand, Chris, how hard it is for you to, after doing so much good, to get all this in return. It's sort of ungratefulness, like, I understand, and I understand you're breaking down also, because this is what I wanted the people of Goa to see, how things have happened here.
You know,
how
her mother-in-law, Davina, again, tried to help her so much, but again, they abused the policies. You know, we gave her holidays, she didn't come back. She went on unauthorised holidays. Holidays that she was told she couldn't go on. She went. You know, that's not my fault if they break the rules.
Yeah, you cannot break the rules on work. Yeah, I understand that fully.
You know, as I say, people like Martina, people like Paolo, who came with his family to my house, again, invited me to the weddings, invited me and my family to his house, cooked dinner. And then he stood in court and blatantly lied.
Okay.
You know, he lied in front of a court of law in England.
Okay.
On the Bible.
In the court, on the Bible.
He said they were frightened of Chris.
Oh, I see.
And yet we got pictures, you know, smiling and.
Yeah.
But I think in some ways, I think if I clean a room and someone's going to come and inspect it,
Yeah.
I would be a little bit frightened in case I've done... So I don't know if they get confused with being frightened of just having their work checked.
Yeah.
Because Chris was so kind and did everything she could to help people. You know, changing hours for...
You know, I mean, I know one of the Goan women, she used to leave her children at home on their own.
Yeah.
When she went to work. When I found out about that, I was absolutely mortified. You know, I said, if social services find out, your children will be taken away from you.
Yeah.
I changed her hours.
Okay.
She's one of the people that put in the claim.
Who is against you now, who has stood up in the court of law, who has gone to the court.
Yeah, yeah.
Even now, you were talking about the integrity of the Goan people. Even now, people approach Chris in the street. She doesn't approach them, but some of these claimants, they approach Chris and they say, it's not us, we've got nothing to do with it. Yeah. And I'm always worried that they're being made to do it, that they're under some obligation.
No.
But when I check it,
yeah,
they are for it. You know, it's very confusing.
Yeah.
They are for the claims, and yet they tell us they're not. So even now they're lying.
No, from what I spoke to some of the people of Goa, among those people, they don't even know that they have claimed it. There are 3-4 people who spoke on anonymity. They said they don't even know that they are claiming something.
But I don't know if they're telling the truth.
This is the thing, they lie all the time.
I can't believe a word any of them say.
But are there any people for you on your side among these from the NHS lot with whom you worked?
Well, Pepe.
The thing is, one minute they are, but then they say they're scared to say the truth because they know that they're threatened by the
because of the repercussions.
Yes.
Okay.
They're scared for their children, so they won't speak up.
Yeah. But still, are they for you?
Yeah.
Wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
That's what is important. So that means not all of them are on this side.
No.
Yeah.
There were some people that withdrew their cases. I think there was 8 that withdrew.
I think one of them said, if Paolo doesn't stop visiting me and asking me to sign forms, I'm going to call the police.
Yeah.
Who was that one? That was...
I'm not sure that was...
Alright, that's okay.
Yeah.
But they did say, they did.
Yeah.
They said, if you don't stop calling, I'm going to call the police.
Yeah.
Gloria, I think.
So I feel very sorry for you, Chris, because this is a thing that happened. I would tell you something. I worked about 18-20 years in Kuwait. If this was to happen in Kuwait, the next day they would have been at the airport going back home. They wouldn't keep you for a day there. You're deported the next minute.
This is partly the problem. I think in England people are so frightened, or companies are so frightened of being accused of racial or religious discrimination.
That's the thing.
Which they did. Even though Carillion bent over backwards.
Yeah.
You know, not to be seen, not to be discriminating in any way.
Yeah.
But I think the other thing about the community, the Goan community, it needs to self-regulate itself.
Yeah.
The leaders, like, you know, I know you're one person that stood up for the right thing.
Yeah.
Leaders need to regulate themselves. It's very difficult for outsiders to know what's going on and to talk to people.
There are many Goans who are for you. I know. You don't know them. They don't work for NHS. They are not in this lot or anywhere, but they are for you. From the talks, from the way they meet me. I know those sincere people. They are not in the NHS, but they are for you. I know that. They don't agree with them.
But the trouble is, they're too scared to speak out, and this is
No,
not
it's
right.
not a question of being scared. They're scared of being dragged to the court of law for nothing at all. And then suffer. What has been, they say here, they threaten everything. If possibly you could put the threats into practice, I mean practically you could do that back at home in Goa. But it's not always the case. If that was to happen, all the Goans would have been finished and dead by now. No one can beat anybody. It's not that easy.
You know, I mean, what used to scare me as well is...
But some people do get frightened, I understand that.
Yeah, is the guy that got murdered on Manchester Road. Do you remember a couple of years ago? And that was all work related as well.
I see.
Do you remember? He got stabbed in Manchester
Got
Road.
some faint memory.
He went to prison and then he killed himself.
Oh yeah.
The Goan guy.
Yeah.
But
I was the one who did the story on that.
But the Goans used to laugh about it on the bus and say, there's already been one murder in Manchester Road and there's going to be another one. And that's the way they used to talk.
Yeah.
You know, to the supervisors and things like that. So even to them, it was quite intimidating and quite threatening.
Yeah, that's it. But it's not practical, I know that. As far as I know, it's not practical. It's just a mouth talk.
Yeah, yeah.
Just to frighten people. Okay? So this is what I wanted to know from you actually, and I got the answers regarding the bribes and other things. So coming to the next point, like how did the dispute actually start?
It started, as I say, because Carillion changed the holiday policy.
Okay.
Because before they could, including their shifts, they could say have 3-4 weeks off. But Carillion then brought in a policy which stated they could only be out of the business for 2 weeks. Obviously they wasn't happy with that. And that's how a lot of it started. The first I heard about it was when it was in the newspaper, and that a manager was being accused of bullying. When the grievance was actually seen, there was one line about me. That then went on. Carillion carried out their interviews because it was signed by about 130 people. Started investigating, and obviously found that I wasn't guilty. The GMB wasn't happy with that. You know, they wanted me sacked. They wanted my name smudged. So they then insisted on further interviews, and at further interviews people came out with all of this stuff about bribes. Now, if it was important, why did those people not raise issues at their first interviews? They didn't know they would get a second bite of the cherry. But a lot more stuff came out at the second. There was a lot of people that told me they signed the grievance because they believed it was only about the annual leave. They was only shown blank pieces of paper. They were phoned up at home and told they had to go round and sign it. They went to Jose Estrocio's house where they signed it.
And some signed blank pieces of paper. That we were
I set that up.
Here the saddest part of the story is here, how when Chris broke down now, it was the real truth that came out of her. She wanted to blurt out all them. I wouldn't go for such a changing from the help I received. I would always be grateful for the help. And we have to think of that and not just come into someone else's instigations or being aroused for nothing at all. And this is what she has faced. It's up to you, the people of Goa, or whoever the viewers are, to judge on this, what happened, how things worked out. Or should we, I would also like to ask, tell our Goans, if we should really be supporting the truth, or just us, or just a few who are out to malign the others as well. Okay, Chris and Sarah, can you tell me, how did GMB get involved in this? How did GMB come into the picture?
As I said before, Jose Estrocio had various disciplinaries brought against him due to the fact that he couldn't do his job properly and to a good standard. Jose was a member of the GMB, and that's how it initially started, that he would ask for representation for them. As it was going on, different people would then start putting in grievances and were then advised to use the GMB. Although the although the union in the hospital was Unison and Unite, people would start putting in grievances because they were asked to work in a different area. You know, if we asked some of the Goans if they'd work in a different area because someone was sick, they would then throw themselves on the floor and lie on the office floor. They would then start waiting. We would then have to call the medical staff. The medical staff would then take them to A&E. We were then told by the medical staff there's nothing actually wrong with these people. You know, I've asked people in an office before why they was off sick. The next thing, they're on the floor. Again, we've had to call A&E, the crash team, which obviously costs lots and lots of money. And while they're dealing with people that are actually acting, there's sick people there that are dying.
This is slightly off your question, but there was a lot of resistance. If one housekeeper was asked to move and work on a different ward because there was low numbers, there was a lot of resistance to this, wasn't there?
Yeah, they only wanted to work on where they wanted to work.
Which means they didn't want to obey. Which means they didn't want to obey the orders given by the superiors.
No.
And there are often stories of people sleeping in cupboards because they were on night leave, weren't they?
Yeah, you know, some of the Goans had jobs at other places.
Sleeping in the cupboards.
You know, one of the ladies that worked on Hazel,
Okay.
Irene D'Souza, who put in a lot of grievances, her workmates actually said she wanted to work on Hazel because she used to sleep on a bed because she was working in the post office on nights. So therefore she was too tired to do a job. You know, she came in her court papers, she says that she gave me a bribe. In fact, she came into the office, said, "Chris, I want to thank you for everything you've done for me. I want to wish you a happy Christmas." I didn't even open the box. The box went straight down into the manager's office. I never saw it, yet she claims it was a bribe. You know, some of the people say they gave me a bribe at work, and then in someone else's statement they say they gave me a bribe at my home. Now, they're not telling the truth. Their stories are totally different. You know, they say they've seen me in town, but they can't say when it was, they can't say where it was. You know, because they're not telling the truth, they've got no details of these issues because there isn't any.
Yeah.
And the story changes. So they're completely unreliable witnesses. So
Yeah.
they haven't got a chance in court.
Yeah.
You know, these people have got to stand in court and they've got to answer all of the accusations. You know, if they stand there, how can they prove Pepe cleaned my house when Pepe only ever came to my house once?
Yeah.
It's a blatant lie.
And you were accused of having an affair with someone, weren't you? Another housekeeper.
I was accused of having an affair with one of the Goan staff.
Yeah, okay, but having an affair is your personal problem.
But,
no one can no one can take that away
but
from
how
you.
can they then deem that I'm racist? I'm there dancing at a Goan festival and then they're saying I'm racist. They accuse me of having an affair with Nevin D'Souza.
Okay.
They then accuse me of being racist.
I see.
You can't have it both ways. I'm either racist or
No,
I'm
I have
not.
not seen anything in you of
You know,
being a rapist. Racist, I'm sorry.
You know, my family is multicultural.
Yeah.
I've got a brother that's married to an Argentinian. I've got a brother that's married to a Cambodian. One of my best friends is black. You know, I've got no issue at all and never have had. So to be called a racist is very hurtful.
They also use the word bullying. What has bullying got to do with that?
They define bullying, in my mind, is asking someone to do something.
Oh.
You know, if you say to someone, you need to clean that,
That's a job.
that's just me asking them to do it.
That's a part
I
of
always
job.
said please, I also said thank you. You know, I would also congratulate them when it was recognised.
Just talk about the file notes, Chris, and the disciplinaries, because that was an issue. We always were given disciplinaries. What would you give disciplinaries
Yeah,
for?
this is
What
another
sort of
thing.
things?
You know, they accused me of sacking people. I never sacked anyone. I couldn't sack anyone.
Yeah.
It wasn't in my remit. That was my higher boss would sack. You know, if they're disciplinaries, it was for things like one of them was sacked for spitting on a cloth, cleaning the bed, stealing a mobile phone.
Oh, I see.
Stole, you know.
Using
Another
the credit.
one was using the cards that the patients buy for their televisions.
Okay.
Was using that to phone Goa. So
Oh,
when
I
the
see.
patient came back from an operation or from having an X-ray, their money was gone.
Okay.
You know, they went to disciplinary for eating patients' food,
Okay.
trying to kiss a nurse in a lift.
Oh, who tried to kiss the nurse in the lift?
One of the Goan guys who was actually married tried to.
Know his name?
I can't remember off the top of my head.
I think 3 people were sacked, not that you had anything to do with it.
There was another Goan guy who was claiming that he was working on his days off. And when I asked him about it, he said, "It's very good, Chris, for as long as it lasted."
All right.
He left the company.
The three were sacked, weren't they, for smoking
Yeah, they was English.
in... Oh, they were English, right?
These parts of the stories are not out.
No, they won't.
Nobody knows. So, no, let the people of Goa know.
You know, but if, you know, they said it was racist.
Yeah.
It wasn't, because if an English person had done it, it would be the same thing, because it's gross misconduct.
No, regarding the kissing of the nurse, was it with consent or
No.
by
So,
force?
yeah,
In the lift?
yeah.
That amounts to almost
Sexual harassment.
molestation.
Yeah.
So disciplinaries were very serious, but many of the housekeepers say, "Oh, we were always given disciplinaries." It's not true.
No, it's not true.
If there were substantive chats, i.e., spitting on a, you know, using the wrong cloth,
Yeah.
because you had to use a different cloth from the toilet as you would for the shower.
Yeah.
So if the supervisor noticed substandard work, they would make a note of it.
Okay.
Just say, "We've had this chat," and it was called a file note. Now, a lot of the housekeepers didn't like these files. They
No.
didn't like these recorded conversations. But you obviously had to record them
Yeah.
because it's very important where there's infection control.
Yeah.
But
Every company
Yeah.
does the same process.
Yeah.
You know, if you're caught doing a minor offence,
Yeah.
it gets noted. It's just like a minuted meeting. That's all it was.
Yeah.
But they tried to say it was disciplinaries. They weren't disciplinaries at all.
Yeah.
They were told they were file notes, but a lot of them would refuse to sign them, cause a big hassle about it. But it was just a minute meeting.
But that Jenny Barretto on the television, she said, "Oh, we're always given disciplinaries." It's not
So
true.
they were using the patients' cards to call Goa and finishing their money off.
Yeah.
They were using all the food,
Yeah. Eating
like you
patients'
said,
food.
Not a lot, you know.
whatever it
Yeah,
is,
yeah.
Yeah.
which
These
is
are the
not allowed
issues
as
for
per law.
disciplinary. Yeah.
No, that's right.
As per the, and I'm sure that when you go to a country, you have to follow that country's rule, disciplines, and as far as I know, that British people are very much disciplined. They
Yeah.
follow the rules well.
Another issue was rest breaks. Do you want to talk about the rest breaks? Because that was a big issue on the...
So, and all the disciplinaries that carried on were for serious offences and for gross misconduct. You know, there was one member of staff that was found asleep in a cardboard box in a cupboard.
In the cupboard.
Yeah.
No, sleeping in the cupboard. What's the name of that person? Alright, if you can't remember,
Can't
just
remember.
go
I will
ahead, go
remember.
ahead. Carry on.
But she's still got a job. She still works there.
I see.
But as I say, people that were dismissed or went to disciplinary, it was for very serious offences. You know, one of the Goan ladies went off sick because she said she was in a lift and the lift fell the whole shaft from the 4th floor down to the ground. That wasn't true either, because when they'd done their investigations, the lift had only moved that far.
I see.
So again, they were lying. Do you understand? There's processes and policies that you have to stick by, and that includes me. You can't just take anyone to a disciplinary. It has to be for a valid reason, and it has to be authorised by HR. So people that went to disciplinary, they were for things that was not good. You know, if they didn't return from their annual leave, they went to disciplinary. You know, not them, but there was a couple that did, because, you know, they should have been probably chastised for it, but wasn't at the time.
Jose wasn't he? Had an gross misconduct.
Jose, as I say, Strosier was due to go a couple of disciplinaries, but every time he put in a grievance against somebody.
And also, all the other supervisors put in a grievance against him.
Yeah, because
And he was investigated
because
that
he was
by an
quite,
external investigator.
yeah, he obviously didn't. He told me he didn't like women bosses because it's not right.
But all these supervisors put in a grievance against him.
Yeah.
And he was what the,
Oh, they put him on special leave and then brought him back.
Okay.
I also believe that food was taken off the premises.
What was that? Food?
Yeah, taken out of the hospital.
Food or food stuff?
Food stuff, jams, sugars, stuff that they used to keep in the kitchens, stock like toilet rolls, cleaning products. Staff were telling me that other staff were taking them out of the hospital.
You all knew about it and you all didn't act on it?
This was hearsay. A lot of it was after I'd actually left the company, because the company didn't really hold searches. There was a lot of exits to the hospital, and the hospital was run on trust.
Okay.
But obviously, the trust
This is a kind of an embarrassing situation, at least for me, that our own Goan people were taking away things without permission, which amounts to theft. It's so shameful and embarrassing to hear this even. And then you saved them, quite a lot of them, from getting thrown out, and then you get something in turn.
Yeah.
This is totally something that is devastating. And
just back to the
I wouldn't-
GMB, we heard that the GMB were wanting to be recognised at the hospital.
Yeah.
But neither of the other two unions wanted a third union there.
Okay.
And neither did the trust. So they weren't wanted, but I think the GMB were quite active and wanting recognition.
There was an issue elsewhere with Quillian, with a lot of construction workers where they'd been blacklisted.
Okay.
And I do believe that was one of the reasons that they wanted to get into the hospital, because it gave them extra clout. against the issues that had already happened. So they could accuse Krillin of the blacklisting, but then they could also then add all this stuff about the way that the Goan people were being treated.
But we know that Paolo was going around during work hours trying to get people to sign his forms, which you're not supposed to do. You're supposed to do any union work outside hours. Because people were saying to Chris, there were complaints coming in to Chris and the managers, that they were frightened of Paolo, and they were hiding in cupboards. They said, we haven't got any money for union fees. So, and there were other times when he was saying, I've cleaned all these toilets, and you get written documentation. But it actually CCTV cameras to show he'd been talking to people.
Yeah, that he'd lied. So, you know, and he again was caught on the phones in the hospital, phoning Goa.
Oh, I see.
So,
just a moment.
The sort of way the GMB and the Paolo and Jose, who were reps on the hospital site, proceeded was with one grievance after the other, and a lot of publicity. So there were we think there were over 40 articles written in the Evening Standard, with again a lot of lies about bullying, harassment, and discrimination. There was an article in the Guardian and in Private Eye, and they included a lot of publicity stunts. One was in town when I think it was Paolo called out, we've got Pam Coulson, because
got me.
Chris's manager had resigned, and now we're going to get Chris Woods. So we knew what was behind them, that they were wanting to get rid of the managers, that they were focusing on creating lies, creating a sort of panic situation in order to get rid of these managers for their own ends.
What was the reason to get rid of the managers?
Well, there was a hit list of 5. There was my boss, me, Yvonne, Jackie and Tor. And I believe these were the people that they thought were the ones that were
blocking their activities. They could not get their way.
Yes. So
you all were acting as per the law,
yeah,
and they didn't want you to act as per the law, which means they couldn't get their way. So you were on the hit list.
Yeah.
And another time they had a demonstration outside the hospital with very, very loud music. And it was disturbing people on the maternity unit. They couldn't sleep. They couldn't hear.
They couldn't do that
Because of this music.
This is a hospital where people are dying, and they've got a big model of Darth Vader and Star Wars music going around the hospital. That boys would, you know, on all their posters they put, "We want respect." Where's the respect there? There was no respect. That you know, in fact, they was rude. They would come up to my face like that and say, "Give me holidays." I'd be like, "No, I can't." Give me. And that's how they used to speak to us. That's not respectful.
Yeah.
That's rude. They would grab you by your arm and say, "Give it to me. I want overtime."
What was the law doing then?
That's not right.
Loud music, the police has to intervene. Grabbing you by the hand, it's manhandling.
Yeah.
So what was the law doing?
I think for Chris it was a nightmare. You can imagine it's a nightmare.
Yeah.
So all these there was sort of sheets with her name on it. Her name was called over a public speaker system.
But then
she was accused of very, very, very serious allegations: bribery, corruption, racial discrimination, religious discrimination. Very, very serious things, and in big numbers. It was a time of real confusion.
Yeah. But then, what about your superiors? Didn't you inform your superiors that you're being manhandled and all that?
Yeah.
What action was taken?
None. I believe Krillin wouldn't, because they didn't want to be deemed as racist, and they knew if they took action, there would be repercussions. Because a lot of the things, as I say, Jose Estracio was involved with, and again, it would always come to racial discrimination. It wasn't racial discrimination.
Yeah.
You know, even after I left and Krillin took on extra supervisors, in the claims they've said that that's discrimination. It didn't allow them to get promotion, and the people were white. Well, clearly there was a supervisor there that was black. So how can they accuse Krillin of being racist when they've taken on a black supervisor? It doesn't make sense.
But then they should have acted when you were manhandled and all this.
I know. You know, some of the things I shrugged off and I'd be like, "No, don't be stupid." Yeah. You know, because if I went to the management every time something happened, I'd have been there every day.
Yeah.
But
So-
you were going to the management, weren't
But
you?
they
And
knew,
they weren't dealing with it.
they knew there was issues about annual leave, etc. Yeah.
How do you deal with it? You know, it's a very, very difficult problem for them to deal with.
Alright.
You know, it's massive, isn't it?
Yeah.
All
It
these
is,
people
yeah.
making up.
Yeah,
You know, they
yes.
didn't know if they were true or false
I
at
agree
the
with
time.
you.
And they're agreeing, accusing Crillian, the employer, again, of being racist.
Yeah.
You know,
Now, don't they have contracts in place?
they do, but I don't believe they understand contracts. Paolo, when he stood in court,
Yeah.
Paolo Fernandez, didn't understand his contract. You know, he said he didn't know how to put a grievance in, yet it was there in the contract and it was pointed out by the judge.
Have they signed or not?
Yep, he'd signed the contract.
But
So
he,
that means
he didn't know his own contract.
But that means they
He's a
read and
union
signed
rep.
it.
He's
Yeah.
a union rep who didn't know his own contract. How can he help his
Hmm.
people?
You can't.
No,
Once you sign a contract, it's a contract.
yeah,
I sign a contract, I read and sign it.
yeah.
Any person reads and signs a contract.
But he'd also spoke to other, he said he didn't know how to put a grievance in, yet he'd spoke to other people that put a grievance in. So he knew the process very well. But he again told lies to try to accuse me of the fact that they were scared of me. You know, he said they couldn't go to HR because if I found out, their lives would be hell. Now, I worked in an office with no windows. I wouldn't know if they went to HR. There was 4 different ways to go to HR. Again, it was just lies. You know, there's so many things in the court papers that are blatant lies. You know?
Didn't the court see through it?
Obviously, it's still going on. I was struck off the claims because the judge believed that Paolo Fernandez was not a credible witness.
He lied in court.
Because he lied in court, yeah. My mum, who's 75, went to court as a witness. Again, Paolo said that we never went to his house, and my mum told her, the judge, yes, we did. She described the house. It wasn't his house, but he was staying with his relations.
Yes.
So we was all there for dinner. My mum could tell him how many people were there, what the wallpaper was like, that she spoke to Paolo in the kitchen. Yeah, he denied he was even there. Paolo then told the court that he'd never ever been to any social event where I was present, and yet the next day I produced photographs of me dancing with his family, sitting with him, stood chatting and laughing with him. It proved that he was telling lies.
And at the next meeting, he told them that we doctored the photographs.
Yeah.
As if we could. But the judge said he wasn't a credible witness.
Yeah.
3 or 4 times in her judgment,
Yeah.
she said he's not a credible witness.
Alright.
And this is their star witness. The star witness.
And he also said he needed a translator because he couldn't understand.
This is just one part of the interview we managed to get with Chris. Chris has been shattered and devastated totally at the behavior of the Goans, whom she helped all her life. Finally, she had to resign and go. As there's no time now, I've requested Chris and she has agreed, and so has Sarah, when they have time to come out more on all these details and what exactly happened in the NHS and how they were out and how they harassed her, everything. You must have seen that she broke down in between as she was giving the interview. And we will be coming more with this in the second part. When they have time, I'll be coming here and getting more of the story out. It's not just one side that has to be seen. We have to see all the sides. All the while the Goans put up their sides. The Goan housekeepers. I don't mean all the Goans. And now, based from my talks with Goans outside, non-NHS Goans and Chris, we have a different picture out here. And we shall be coming more with that in the later part of it. Okay, Chris, I'd like to thank you on behalf of NHS Goan Workers. And when we come next time, I would like to have more complete remaining of the details of what has happened from you. And Sarah, you took a lot of time. You were a great help in arranging this interview. I'm really very much obliged to you. And I would also ask you to stop crying, because I know everybody breaks down. It happens to me. I'm also very sentimental. But I do share your sentiments. I do share your grief. I do understand what is going on based on your interview. So this is what is happening. People should see this. Our Goan should see and decide who is right and who is wrong, whether we should side the right or whether we should side the wrong. With this, I close down this part of the interview and will be coming back next time. All the best.